What's up, everybody? Well, I got another Asus Ally gameplay video for you guys today, and today we're gonna check out Outlast. Now, I already did this game on pretty much everything else I own, and it was 60 FPS pretty much the whole time. Now, the laptop dropped down like 58, 57 or whatever. I don't know why it was doing that, but the Steam Deck got 60 the whole time, so I'm hoping this can too at 1080p. But maybe it can't at 1080p, but it can at 720p? Who knows? But hopefully it'll just run maxed out, seeing as though this is a pretty damn powerful device. And the Steam Deck was able to do it set at 800p, so this is like a DirectX 9 game, so it's not like the most hardest thing to run, but I've noticed a lot of new cards kind of struggle with some of the older DirectX technology sometimes. And I think AMD was one of them. But let's not waste any more time. Let's go grab that cable, get this guy hooked up to the capture computer, and then we'll see what's what. Hopefully it'll be able to play it maxed out. If not, we'll go through all the settings as we usually do. But let's get into the game.
Alright guys, before we get into the game, let's look at the small amount of settings this game has. It only has a couple. There's only 3 you can really change, well, besides resolution. And you can disable motion blur, which I of course did. And I turned VSync off, even though I guess you really shouldn't since you max out at 60 in this game. But anyway, to the game. Here we are at the very beginning of the game. Coming up to the place. And unfortunately already we are dropping under 60. Now once we get actually into the asylum, it might just stay a constant 60. But I noticed on all the other computers that driving up to the place was the worst for frames as far as I've been in the game so far, but it's not like I got super far. Not yet, anyway. Alright, we gotta pull on over up here. Oh, it's 420. Our 420 alarm is going off, so I guess let's take a quick hit too while this guy is getting ready to go into his asylum. Ooh, that's good sour garlic cookies. Fuck yeah. And he's got wolves or coyotes or something howling. Though as he'll soon find out, that is the least of his worries in this crazy place. Alright, open the gate. And we've already gained access. Well, partial access anyway. Nope, that's not the right button. That's the one I wanted. So let's run over here and at least climb up the rafters a little bit here. Seems like out here, though, we're still not always able to hit 60, which is a shame. Though sometimes it can. Very interesting. Over here, it seems to be a constant 60. No, we probably spend a very small amount of time outside. I think once we get through this window, I'm going to stop at over here. I think that's about it for outside. Could be wrong, but who knows? Well, it wasn't able to hit 60 at very high, so we're going to go through all the settings. So I dropped the 3 we can drop all down to high and left everything else alone. We're still at 1080p, as you can see right here. So now, let's go see how it does at high. Hopefully we can stay at 60 the whole time now. If not, I'm going to be a little like, what the fuck, you know? Here we go with high. Let's see if we can't stay above 60 now. And the reason why I'd be a little irritated is the Steam Deck can play this game 60 all the time no matter what. Even on this beginning portion. Completely maxed out. Now I know this is 1080p versus 800p, but still. This thing's quite a bit more powerful than the Steam Deck. Or so they say. Well, I know it is, because a bunch of games have gotten way better performance in. But where it really seems to shine in the frame rates is when you play at 720p. But a lot of people don't want to do that because it looks a lot worse than 1080p. Me, I can tell a difference, but I'm one of those people that are more than often than not with like frames. Oh, nope, we're down in the 40s here. Shit. So we're definitely not able to say 60 the whole time. Well, that's lame. But anyway, but a game like this, I don't really feel like I need to have, like, 60 all the time. But I'd prefer it if I can have it. It's not like the game looks freaking crazy high graphics anyway, so. Most important thing is, though, when I get out of the car and start moving around. Right now, I might as well be watching the movie, you know? Yeah, well, I kind of am. The game is kind of being a movie, and I'm watching a video of myself playing the gameplay, so I'm like double watching a movie. Shit. Mind fuck. Alright, let's get into this fucking nut house. Yeah, see, we're not quite able to still stay at 60 out here. Close, but no cigar. Alright, we're back up to 62. 61, 62. Oh, nope, 58. Still, though, without the thing up there, with the variable refresh rate screen, I probably wouldn't even notice. But I figure, like I always do with everything else, if it can't handle staying at 60, I go through all the settings. So we'll end up going through all the settings at 1080p and 720p. Even though a lot of people would probably be totally fine with the way this is running right now. And just be like, all right, no, I'm fine with high. Fuck it. Well, besides the crazy amount of screen tearing, I should have kept VSync on, seeing as though we're limited to 60 FPS anyway. But I have a habit of always turning it off just for these videos, just like I turn other stuff off, like motion blur. Down to medium we go. So we got our texture, shadows, and effects all on medium now. I still have disable motion blur on, VSync off, even though I should have turned it back on. I kept forgetting over and over again. So we'll probably just leave it off the whole damn game. I probably never will remember. Anyway, though, back to the game. Medium graphics settings now at 1080p here. So we'll cruise down our little road up to our nut house up here. And so far, so good. Well, now hopefully if it does drop, it'll just drop to like 57 or 58 or something like that. I don't want it to drop down to the damn 40s. Though, truth be told, after we got out of the car and all that stuff, I don't think it ever dropped into the 40s again, no matter what settings we had. But still, it's principle. Besides, for all I know, maybe there's a way higher, harder spot to run farther into the asylum. I don't know. Haven't been that far yet. We're down to 55. Still not horrid, but just pointing it out. All right, let's get our camera ready to go. Go, gadget camera. Huh, this might be one of the first games I can get all my footage in one go without having to charge the thing halfway through. The 25-watt thing it eats up the battery like there's no tomorrow. You only get like about an hour. Alright, we're almost up to our little stopping spot here, so let's just go here, jump on in, have the thing explode, and we'll move on. Now we are on low on all three of these guys here, and everything else is precisely the same, and we're still at 1080p for now. I think there's still one more setting after this before we do my settings and whatnot and move on to 720p, so let's go see how low does. We got some low gameplay now at 1080p here, so we'll cruise back on up to the asylum here. And it'd be nice if no matter what, it could always stay at above 60, even at like the part where we're sitting there figuring out all the stuff we can take in with. And that seems to be the part that seems to kill the FPS the most. I don't really know why either. Nothing really intensive seems to be going on there at all. And other systems play that part flawlessly, but I think my laptop did similar stuff. So I don't think it dropped into the 40s. It dropped down to like 52 or something like that during this part. And I really should have gone through all the graphic settings on that one, but I think I was a point in time where I had like a bunch of other videos to make, so I was like, okay, well, most of the time it's 60, so I guess we'll just let it be. And if anybody wants me to do a better job, just let me know and I'll do it again. Only better. Well, at least when I don't have time constraints. Now we still drop down to 56. Not the end of the world, obviously, but man, I don't know why this game doesn't like this system. The system should be more than adequate to play this game. Completely maxed out and get 60 the whole time at 1080p. Maybe this, well, not maybe, but I still think this thing just needs some more updates. Though that means I'll have to come back and try all these games again, but I don't mind. I'm not gonna lie, even though it takes a really long time to make the videos, I usually start at like 10:30, 11:30 in the morning, and usually work on them until about dinner time, around 6 to 7 p.m. And that's just getting it ready to be made, and then I'll eat dinner, and then I'll usually start editing them. And if I have a bunch of them, like usually for these things, I'll be doing like, you know, Ally, Steam Deck, all things. That's what I'm gonna hope for eventually, to start doing things in order. Anyway, I'll finish explaining in a second. Okay, very low now. So let's just cruise through it real quick, and then after we're done with this, and the gameplay obviously, we'll get to my settings. And I'll finish what I was saying, as long as I don't forget, as soon as we start the gameplay. Very low gameplay now at 1080p, so let's see how it does. But anyway, like I was saying before I got to the end of the other video, the Ally is still a little new, so I wanted to get a bunch of gameplay videos on it just by itself, just get a bunch out there, and then once we get enough out there, we'll start, you know, on all the newer games that come out. I'll do like Steam Deck, then Ally, then Asus, then secondary, and then primary. But for now, I'm just kind of doing stuff out of order because it's so new. I just got to get a big backlog doing and do everybody else's suggestions too. Because I still have a few more to do. I just got a flight sim to do. Now that one might be a little bit too tall of an order, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think my laptop did too good on that one, at least on the higher settings. And my laptop is still quite a bit more powerful than this thing, at least in the GPU department. Surprisingly enough, this thing has actually got more single-core score, even though it's super low voltage and all that stuff. Now, multi-score, I don't think. I think I still slightly have the advantage. But considering mine takes up like nearly 100 watts just for the CPU, that's fucking nuts. Because this thing can only take up a max of 30 plugged into the wall stock. I think you can go a little higher than that if you tinker, but we're not going to do that here. Not unless somebody asks me to. We're just going to do what we do with the Steam Deck and leave it stock as high as it goes without being plugged in. Because if I plugged in, I can't get footage like this. I don't have a dock or anything yet that would make that possible. Probably should get one eventually here. Both for the Steam Deck and that. And I'm sure some people would like to see how they run in docked mode. Alright, we have jumped. Let's get our ass up to our little window here. And there we go. Pop goes the light. And now we can go ahead and move on to the next graphic setting. Well, my setting. Now, for my settings I would run if I was going to play at 1080p, which I probably just would, because this is not the kind of game where I need to have, oh my god, 700 FPS, and besides, you can't get over 62 anyway, so as long as I can stay at around 62 most of the time, I'm a happy guy. We got variable refresh rate anyway. Well, here we go with my settings now, so let's see how it does. Oh yeah, and since I have so many videos to make today, I got this video I did on the Ally, and I also did Resident Evil 3 Remake on my Asus G50 Advantage and the secondary computer and primary computer. So when I do that, I usually have all the computers working at making the videos at once. Like I'll get one starting to render on my main computer, and then I'll hop over to the secondary computer, get one started, and if the main one's not done yet, I'll go and start the process on the laptop and have all three of them going. Since they're all more than adequate at it. Obviously the laptop's slowest at it, but it's still no slouch. It gets it done in more than enough time, since I do everything at 200 bit rate, which makes it take a lot longer than normal. Interesting enough though, on the laptop I always have to do, a different setting than I do on my main computers. Because for some reason, if I use a certain setting, it always overrides it. I try to always do 200 bit rate when I'm, encoding, but on the laptop, if I tell it to do that in certain modes, it'll just know, nope, we're gonna do what we want to do, and it'll be like 25, and that's really fucking low. It would not look good like that. So I have to go and fiddle with it a little bit. So as long as I remember to do that, and I don't make all my efforts in vain, then it's a good thing I can still edit on the laptop, because that's 3 computers then going at making videos at once. And then the probably longest thing is waiting for them to upload. Though that alone usually takes, for videos like this thing, it'll probably take like 2.5 to 3.5 hours. That's because Charter screws me over. I may have gigabit download speeds, but they only give me 35 megabits per second up, which is pretty fucking slow. Way better than it used to at the old house. The old house I only had like 10 before I upgraded to the same internet I have here, like probably about 2 or 3 years before I moved. Anyway though, let's just fun for fun try and find this door again. And hell yeah, we did it. And now let's move on to 720p.
Well, alright guys, let's get ourselves a little camera recorded gameplay here. First we're going to do my settings here at 1080p. Then we'll go and do 720p real quick, and then after that we'll do camera 720p gameplay with my settings. And then we'll wrap the video on up after that. Let's crank this up a little so you guys can hear it a little better. This thing's speakers are really good. Yep, we already read that plenty of times over in a bunch of other videos, so we are not going to do that again. Got our camera, or camcorder to be exact, with night vision. How fun. Even my fancy camera here I'm using right now doesn't have that. Obviously I could get an attachment that could make it do that, but I don't do anything where night vision would be good, useful, so why bother, right? Alright, let's go run up to where we were. Keep jumping in this fucking window up here, kinda as the little benchmark run here. And it is, again, at 25 watts, it's just choosing to only use 15 for this game. And there are some times, like in the beginning, where we dropped under 60, just a teensy bit, but so far as I've been playing around here, I don't think I've seen it drop. Move towards the gap. Oh yeah, fuck you, buddy. You know what? You know what? Oh, well, that's not what I wanted to do. I was trying to be all cool and just shut myself in this room, but then I own myself in the face. Anyway, I think that's good for 1080p camera recorded gameplay, so now let's go move on to the 720p.
Ha, I completely misspoke. We had my camera gameplay before we got to the 720p. Anyway though, we are at 720p now. We're at very high, maxed out. So these are the same, basically the same settings I ran the Steam Deck at. So let's see how it does. Now we're gonna try some 720p out. Now these are the exact same settings I made, or I ran with the Steam Deck in its video. Completely maxed out at 720p, which is what it forces it to be when it's hooked up to my capture computer. So at least that makes it apples to apples when I compare it to this. At least when I get to the 720p part. Otherwise I'm at 1080p. I do native always. So let's see if it'll be able to stay above 60 the whole time. Now the Steam Deck did drop to like 58, 59, 60, but it didn't drop down to 53 at any time, so already it kind of failed, but that was just one time. Oh, nope, it's doing it again down to 54, 53, 51, 50, 40s, yeah. Steam Deck definitely didn't drop that low, so I do not know what in the hell is going on with that. Maybe this thing just hates DirectX 9 as much as my laptop. They're both AMD. They've had updates to make it better, but it's always been kind of subpar on AMD for the past couple generations here. Now, there was a time, though, that's funny, where they kicked ass at it. So, I don't know what happened. I guess probably because they were like, well, almost nobody uses DirectX 9 anymore, so screw it. We're just not going to focus on making our shit run well with it anymore. Everybody's going to use DirectX 11 or 12 at this point, for the most part. But smaller games like this still sometimes use DirectX 9. And I only know that from my laptop video because I use Afterburner with that. It tells you a little more info than this thing's stock, but hey, at least it gives you something like the Steam Deck. But both Afterburner and the Steam Decks are a lot more advanced than this thing. I mean, unless there's a spot I missed where you can go in and customize this thing and make it even more badass. I'd love some frame times and whatnot, and 1% lows, that would be nice. And better yet, I like how Afterburner has a little frame time bar too, so you can easily see like stutter and whatnot. But most of the time, people with their bare eyes can see stutter, so it's not 100% necessary. It just helps a little. Screw you, I'm gonna find this fucking door. And I'm gonna go through here, and now we'll move on. Dropping it down to high now. We only have 3 things to mess with, so it's not like it takes very long to get through this screen. And besides that, we're at 720p still, and we left everything else alone. Because not enough to really leave alone. We just have to disable motion blur and full screen, which we don't want to mess with those. Up the road we go to the asylum at high at 720p now. And yeah, we're down to 52. I might actually get through this whole game without recharging this thing. That would be nice. It's not like it's a hard game to run. That's why I'm kind of surprised that we're not always staying at 60 no matter what. But I have noticed, at least with the Steam Deck, my laptop, and anything else AMD, sometimes if it doesn't push the GPU all the way, it'll tend to use a little bit too little of itself. That makes sense. Like it will clock itself up high enough to get you constant whatever frame rate you're trying to get, you know? And I already tested this here in the Steam Deck, and it doesn't seem to matter if you just lock it to like 1500 megahertz or whatever either. That doesn't get you any more FPS. I tried that, and what was that damn terrible game? Gotham Knights. And yeah, didn't get me any more, so. It's something going on in the drivers, I guess. Where it's all like, no. Because it wasn't at 100%. Or maybe it was the game. Because it wasn't getting 100% utilization either, just like we're not here. We're only getting 70% GPU utilization here. And for a game like this, I doubt we're CPU bottlenecked, but I mean, it's not like we can see what individual cores are doing, and we're not getting 100% GPU utilization, so We're bottleneck something. Probably API bottleneck, but hey. And now this thing is dropping down wattage like crazy, down to like 13 watts. I've got it at 25. I think I even open up the settings at some point and prove it. I guess whether or not it's actually stuck to what it's supposed to be or not, that's completely up in the air. Still though, more than enjoyable. I can play like this, though I'd rather play at 1080p and have a little bit crisper of an image, but that's just me. It's one of the main reasons I got this thing, was to play older games at 1080p. Basically, for newer games like Diablo 4, I knew I was going to have to turn FSR on or turn down to 720p, but FSR seems to do a little better job most of the time. Sometimes not, though. Anyway, it's time for us to drop down to medium now. So, there's our 3 settings. As you can see, we are on medium. I left the other 2 check-marked things alone, and we are still at 720p. And that's it for settings, so why don't we get back into the game and we'll see how it does now. We're going to do some medium graphics settings here on 720p now, so let's cruise up to the asylum again.
Seems the Arab Battle Park services will be spraying for an infestation of box helicopters.
Sure is a long driveway up to this place. And this seems to be one of the hardest places to run that I found. That's why I always do the drive up. I'm sure a bunch of people are wondering, why in the heck? Why does he keep going and doing a part he can't even control? It's just because during my testing, I noticed this was a spot that was hard to run. I figured there might be other spots as hard as this to run later in the game, so if it can't handle here, it might not handle it everywhere, so I might as well do my due diligence. At least that's my thought process anyway. Maybe it's a dumb thought process, but that was my thought process anyway. All right, night vision check. Time to get out of the Jeep. Run. Gotta run over here to the scaffolding, and then we can get up and jump in our little window. That's the little benchmark route I set for myself anyway. It's only using like 10 to 13 watts. Jump up here, and pop goes the light bulb. And all right. And with that, yeah, see, look, we're still at turbo, at least according to it. And now, moving on. Well, now, here we go with low. So we got our 3 settings here, texture, shadows, and effects all on low. I left the check marks alone and still leaving it on 720p. I don't think I would change that now. That would be absolutely stupid. But anyway, let's get back to the game. Up the lonely road. On low at 720p up to our crazy person asylum. For sure were a lot of these abandoned. And I think a lot of the time was either funding, and then I heard at least a lot of the bigger ones, they abused the much they say to people, so I mean, that's not fucking good. But then, instead, they all kind of threw them out on the public streets, which also is not helping anybody. It's not helping them, and it's certainly not helping the general populace, so I don't know. Luckily, we got something now. But for a little while, it was just kind of like fucking organized chaos on the streets. Just be walking around and like some freaking crazy person just fucking stab you to death. And they wouldn't even want your wallet or anything. It'd just be a fucking crazy person who thought you were a fucking pink dinosaur or something named Fred. That some toaster told them to kill, you know? People like that. Alright, now why don't we go ahead and do our little checkup on our camera, which is basically our lifeline when we don't have light. Alright. Doesn't look like he really wants to, but it's time for him to get out of the truck, and it's time for him to get where he needs to go. And we're gonna run. We're not gonna go really slow. Alright, get our little thing like it wants us to. And then run like a motherfucker over to this opening over here. Alright, through the little break in the wall there. And now let's go up our scaffolding. Jump, jump, jump. And we move. Last up before getting to my settings and camera gameplay with my settings is very low here. So as you can see, we have changed the settings to very low, left it at 720p, and other than that, there's nothing else to really say here. Not too many options to go over. So let's get back to the game and we'll see how very low does. Now we've got ourselves some very low. Now we can cruise on up here and we'll see if we stay at 60 the whole time. Which seems to be a lot. It drops out to 58, 59, 50, even 57 sometimes. I don't care about that. I just don't like it when it drops all the way down to 50. That's pretty noticeable. I don't even know why it's doing it. It should be able to be maxed out, dang it. Oh well, we'll come back and try it again after some updates. And it's not like it's unplayable right now. I just want to know a little bit more FPS, that's all. Figured it could handle a game like this until you can be maxed out. Random stuff check. Sure are a bunch of interesting noises going around out here. But no time for that now. We gotta get the hell where we need to go to finish our little benchmark run, which is just over yonder. And I was so worried about falling down, but I don't even think you can fall off that damn thing. Anyway, let's go move on now. Here we go now with my settings. So I would just do high for textures, low for shadows, since they seem to really screw this thing over, and then high for effects. And then we're doing that at 720p this time, since I already did my settings at 1080p, so let's go back to the game now and we'll see how it does. Now here we are with my settings. So we'll cruise up the road and we'll run up into the frickin' place, the scaffolding, and finish our benchmark, and then after that we'll move on to some camera gameplay of my settings. And with that we'll go a little teeny bit farther than we did before too. just so we can kind of see what the performance is like running around in the freaking asylum. I wanted to do that with everything, but I kind of looked at the timer and I was like, damn, I'm almost at like 4 minutes. I'm at like 240 for each freaking thing. That's going to make this thing almost like 50 minutes long. In my head, anyway. I always do math wrong, so I think this will probably be, what, like a 40-minute video or something like that. If you incorporate all that together, plus the camera-recorded gameplay. Yeah, probably something like that. That's okay. All these Ally videos are usually a little longer. I mean, we're doing 2 resolutions in one every time, almost. Because so far, it's not really been a single game, I don't think, where I could just pop everything in up to max at 1080p and go. I'm sure we'll run into them eventually. It'll probably be older games, though, or indie games. And that's a lot of things I also bought for indie games at 120 hertz. I figured that shit would be fun. Alright, let's go. Still had a little drop frames in the truck, but not too bad. I think they'll stay at 60 from now on, though. It's always that blasted ride on that car, on that damn Jeep, though. It always dropped us under 60. Don't know why either. Nothing crazy seems to be happening there that I can see anyway. Up we go. What the hell's out there? Oh, that's right. It's not going to let me use the damn thing yet. I wanted to get a better look at out there. Oh, well. Well, let's just go ahead and move on then.
Well, now here we go with some 720p camera gameplay with my settings here. Starting off in the car again, because that's one of the spots where it was dropping under 60, not that it matters much here in the car for, you know, a couple fucking seconds, but still, since it dropped, I decided, well, fuck it, we'll go through all the settings. Though it is kind of funny, the Steam Deck could play this game maxed out at 720p, and this thing can't. At least not in its current state. I am running a hotfix that they came out with, but I don't think that really fixed the performance, putting it back to the performance I never got to experience with BIOS, what was it, 617. I'm on 619, which apparently is terrible, but with a hotfix now, that's supposed to make it slightly less terrible, but if it can't even play this game, you know, maxed out, I think it needs some more time in the oven here. Don't get me wrong though, Steam Deck had its fair share of issues too. Hell, I was like the, what was it, the third wave of shipments for my Steam Deck, and it still had a bunch of issues when I got mine. So honestly, this thing's not doing so bad at all. I know a lot of people have been just hating on this thing like crazy. But not me. I understand it needs some more time just to get a little bit better. Doesn't tick me off when it, you know, crashes and does some stuff that I know my Steam Deck can do, even though it's less powerful and this can't, like this. That's a little irritating. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of surprising. I figured I'd be able to just max this game out, get 60 all the time, and, you know, boom, bam, we're done. But nope, we gotta go through all the settings. But that's okay. I actually kind of like doing that. I'm just more irritated that, well, why is the Steam Deck being less powerful able to do that? And this can't. It got 60 the whole time, never dropped like at all. Like it might have dropped like 59, but like almost every game does that. But it wasn't dropping down to like no 55 or 54 like it was on this in the car. Now once we got in here, honestly it probably would get like a constant 60 no matter what, even maxed out at 1080p, but we don't know that for a fact. So I wanted to go through all the settings for people, so they would know what to expect. 2 can play at that game, and I did it right this time, so there. But anyway, I think that's enough camera recorded gameplay here for 720p, and that's pretty much it. So let's go wrap this video on up now. Well, alright guys, that is a wrap for Outlast on the Asus Ally, and it handled it, but I was honestly surprised it couldn't play it maxed out. The Steam Deck and everything else I had could. I guess this thing just needs a little bit more updates, and then I'm willing to bet it will be able to play this. So just like the Steam Deck, for some games, I come back and retest them to see if it's, playable or better. So we'll definitely come back to this one after this thing's had some more BIOS updates and graphics updates and updates in general. Because I know it can play this game maxed out at 1080p and get 60 all the time. There's no excuse to why it couldn't, at least in my opinion. Maybe there's something in there where it's like, okay, no, it's this one thing preventing it from doing it. And then, like, just as an example, maybe it's the quad channel RAM in the Steam Deck somehow fixing some bottleneck that this thing can't. And even though it's more powerful, in a game like this, it goes, hey, nope, I'm not doing it. This is just an example. I'm not saying that's what's happening, obviously. I'm just saying, hey, maybe that's something. But in any case, still more than playable, and people can have more than enough fun playing it. I was just a little surprised that it couldn't beat the Steam Deck. Even at 720p, you couldn't max it out and get 60 the whole time, whereas the Steam Deck, you could. So, not being a Steam Deck fanboy, just spitting facts here. I like both of these things. I was just expecting a little more out of this thing. But hopefully it'll get there with updates. But in any case, that's all we got for this particular video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, because I sure as hell enjoyed making it for you guys. And until the next video, peace out, guys.